Hey, Rufus, you look different. Did you get a haircut or something? New toga? You been working out? Okay, well, it's really bugging me, whatever it is. In the meantime, let's talk about the origins of different words for the devil. I just thought of that for some reason. Blackboard! Okay, so the old infernal tormenter goes by quite a lot of different names, but I just want to focus on the most common ones in the Judeo-Christian tradition here: Satan, the devil, and Lucifer. Let's start with Satan. The word Satan comes from Hebrew. If you know anything about how words are formed in Semitic languages, that won't be surprising. These languages have what nerds call non-concatenative morphology, which is just a fancy way of saying that words aren't changed by adding suffixes as they are in languages like English. Instead, these languages have isolated consonants that form a root meaning, and then the intervening vowels are changed to make specific words. Take a word like book, for example. To make the word plural in English, you just add a suffix. To do the same thing in Arabic, though, you take the three root consonants that indicate the idea of writing in general and change the vowels in between the roots. Anyway, back to Satan. The Hebrew triconsonantal root for the word is this. Now, I'm not at all an expert in ancient Hebrew, but apparently this word means something like an adversary or accuser. I'm also not an expert on ancient Jewish theology, but generally this word does not refer to a specific evil entity, as it does in modern Christian belief. Instead, the word is more metaphorical, referring perhaps to evil influences generally. In ancient Greek texts of the Bible, one finds both the direct transliteration of the Hebrew word, as well as a pre-existing Greek word that meant more or less the same thing as the Hebrew, which leads us to our next word, the devil. The native Greek word that appears in both the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, which, remember, was written originally in Greek, is diabolos, which might start to look familiar. The word has two parts, a root and a prefix. The root comes from the verb balo, which means throw. The prefix dia is a preposition meaning through or across. So the noun diabolos literally means someone thrown across, primarily in the negative sense of being at odds or in the way, which is why Greek writers chose the word diabolos for the Hebrew word Satan, someone or something that has been thrown in the way, an adversary. Now, if you're smarter than Rufus, you've probably already made the connection to the English word diabolical, which of course comes from this Greek word diabolos. It's not a particularly old word. Forms of diabolical only trace back to the 1500s in English, when the word was borrowed directly from the late Latin adjective diabolicus, which means characteristic of the devil, hence the word's English meaning. The word devil, though, is also related to diabolos, so why do devil and diabolical look so different if they have the same ultimate origin? Well, it's because the word devil has a much longer history. It wasn't simply taken from Latin a few centuries ago, although Latin was probably still the culprit. St. Jerome of Stridon produced a Latin translation of the Bible all the way back in the 4th century, which became the definitive edition of the book for over a millennium. The Vulgate, as it's called, is consequently responsible for quite a lot of words in all the languages of Western Europe, especially words dealing with religion. Words like, well, devil. So working backwards from the modern English spellings that we use today, we can find lots of Middle English variants and Old English variants before that. So you can see how an extra 1,000 years of development can really change a word. And lastly, but not leastly, let's talk about the word Lucifer. Now, Lucifer is actually a Latin word, by which I mean it's not just a word stolen from Greek and then Latinized. It has two parts, both of which are found in other English words. The root comes from the word for light, and the suffix comes from the verb meaning to carry or bear. Probably the most important English word to use this suffix is benefer, which means carrying Ben Affleck. So the word Lucifer literally means light bearer, but that doesn't really explain very much. So how did that word become a word referring to the devil? The answer is a combination of translation and misinterpretation. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12, there's a phrase in the original Hebrew text which means morning star, son of dawn. St. Jerome, in his translation, renders this in Latin as Lucifer qui mane aureabaris, morning star who rises at dawn. Now, Jerome didn't invent the word Lucifer here. It was a common way to refer to the planet Venus, which is often called the morning star because at certain times of the year it's the last quote-unquote star still visible in the morning sky as the sun rises. So that's the translation part. Here's the misinterpretation part. This passage isn't talking about the devil. It's unambiguously talking about the king of Babylon, but since it mentions him falling from the heavens in disgrace, this passage has become associated with the Christian tradition that the devil was a fallen angel of God. So the word Lucifer has become attached to the devil, even though there's no such explicit link anywhere in Christian or Jewish scripture. So there you go, 3 words for the devil. What do you think, Rufus? Was that interesting? Right. Well, I better go find a priest. See you next time.